Special thanks to my patrons for supporting my channel. Okay, so I know I just made a community post saying I wanted to move away from talking about individual current releases, but come on, I had to talk about this. About 2.5 years ago, I implored DreamWorks to take up The Bad Guys as a franchise. The movie has its faults, but it's also got fun characters and concepts and dynamics that I believed could truly shine if given another chance. Lo and behold, DreamWorks decided to do exactly that. Obviously because they saw my video and were so convinced. Please, there's no need to thank me. So we've gotten shorts, we've gotten a holiday special we don't need to talk about. And now we've gotten the sequel I so desperately wanted, The Bad Guys 2. The bad guys have officially committed themselves to the path of good, but they're struggling to integrate back into a society skeptical over whether they're really reformed. Pierre Perifel and Etan Cohen returned to direct and write respectively, with Cohen joined by Yoni Brenner. So did the movie push the franchise in the direction I was hoping for? Yes. Yes, it did. First of all, The Bad Guys 2 keeps the strengths of the original movie intact. The opening scene starts things off with an early mission of the team, in fact, the first one that Tarantula was part of. That's a fun little touch, by the way, to show some backstory, show how they came together. Anyways, the scene is a lot of fun, and it's a good refresher on what exactly the franchise offers. There's a few really great set pieces like that, solidifying the family-friendly blend of Ocean's 11 and Mission Impossible that the franchise is aiming for. Plan out the mission, show how the pieces come together, present some complications, and show how they use their wits to get out of it. Each member of the team is able to show off their special skill, getting into place, and then like a satisfying line of dominoes, everything all comes together. That's the core of the genre, and The Bad Guys 2 does it in a very engaging and entertaining way. That's a win for me. The animation is just as strong as it was before. In fact, I think this might look even better. Once again, Perifel's direction brings this really fun energy to the way the characters emote and move. I love the designs of the characters in the world, and the money shot set pieces look great. Visually, the movie absolutely keeps the same high pedigree of animation that I expect from this franchise now. And of course, there's also the characters. As I already mentioned, the 5 titular bad guys all make a return, though some are more prominent than others. Mr. Wolf continues his role as essentially leading protagonist, getting the most screen time out of the whole gang. Shark also gets a good number of moments to shine, and I wouldn't say anyone here feels shafted. But with a high number of characters, well, Tarantula and Piranha and even Snake don't feel as prominent. That seems like a natural consequence of adding newcomers to an ensemble cast, unfortunately. I wouldn't even know how to fix it myself. We also see the return of Diane, the governor with her own secret past as a master criminal, and the police chief now turned commissioner who's still not convinced the bad guys have actually reformed. And I have to particularly note that I really like the direction that the chief takes in this movie. Without spoilers, she's given some more depth, and I like the way her relationship with the bad guys develops. And of course we have the newcomers, Pigtail and Susan/Doom and Kitty. In the marketing they were called the Bad Girls, but they're not called that in the movie at all. They're collectively labeled as the Phantom Bandit to the news. And truth be told, I'm kinda glad that the movie doesn't actually call them the Bad Girls. It has too much of an Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Chipettes vibe to it. I really hoped they wouldn't just be the bad guys but girls, and thankfully they're not. All 3 of them are really endearing in their own right. They have their own distinct personalities. I could see any of them being picked out as someone's favorite of the group. I really hope we get to see them in future installments of the series. In particular, I like Kitty because of what she represents. She's the leader of her group like Wolf is the leader of his, and they both have faced the same prejudice with being born as a scary species with fangs and claws. The different ways they're coping with that fuels the conflict between them. That leads me to my most important point. The first movie's greatest flaw was its story, which felt juvenile, even accounting for the fact it was a family movie. The one thing I felt the sequel needed was a more interesting narrative, and that is exactly what The Bad Guys 2 provides. Despite their efforts to turn over a new leaf, doing that requires a second chance, and it's hard for Wolf and Piranha and Snake and Tarantula and Shark to get that second chance from anyone. It's actually a decent portrayal at how people with convictions in their past can find it very difficult to restart an honest life again. The group's efforts to try and prove their good intentions end up backfiring, which enables them to be entrapped by the Phantom Bandit gang. It's difficult for them to rebuild their reputation, and to a large degree it's unfairly difficult. And it would be so easy to just go back to the life they had enjoyed before. You can feel that conflict continually tug at Wolf in particular through the film. I also like the dilemma that gets set up. In a world that still views them with hostility, the bad guy's lifeline is their relationship with Diane. She believes in their ability to reform and so uses her authority to bail them out of misunderstandings. Now this isn't a spoiler, this isn't a promotion, but when the Fandom Bandit gang demand the bad guys to work with them, they use Diane as a bargaining chip. They have proof of her past as a Crimson Paw and it will ruin her. Refuse to help, and her secret will be exposed. And I like the multi-layered threat this poses. Not only will the friend be harmed, but it would also sever that safety net they have. And it parallels the way that the world is aligned against them. Without giving away the ending, this dilemma resolves in a way I actually did not expect, which was very exciting. Though admittedly, I wish the movie had spent a little more time on that resolution. That's the only real complaint I have with it. Also on a side note, the other thing I actively didn't like in the first movie was, the fish farting. That's thankfully mostly sidelined here, with only one scene prominently featuring it. Still gotta entertain the kids, I guess. But at least it's an improvement and I'll take it. There's more I'd like to dig into, but that would involve getting into spoilers, sadly. The real point I want to make is that I feel vindicated. I believed there was greatness to be found in the first movie setup, and that greatness is starting to finally blossom. And it's already clear that there's going to be even more bad guys on the way, and I'm so here for it. The ending for this movie has been a little bit controversial, but knowing how the books unfold, it felt kind of inevitable, and I'm open to see where it will take us. I feel like we have this exciting, family-friendly action franchise that we can look forward to every few years. Plus, well, as you can probably tell looking at me, good to see some quality furry media in the works. So yeah, bring on The Bad Guys 3. Also, Mr. Wolf was so hot in this movie, oh my god.